pretty clear and audible. The very basic reason of making this video is that I had been going through a book called as the Fast Facts series. This book's name is Hyperlipidemia. It is basically the third edition, and it has been authored by two authors basically. They are Mr. Paul Darrington and Mr. Alan Sniderman. Now, this book, which I had been going through from a couple of days, I found it very interesting, especially for those who are associated with the pharmaceutical sales and marketing. The book is almost about the hyperlipidemia, that is disturbed lipid profile or the elevated lipid profile. What actually is lipid, what are lipoproteins, what are the basic mode of action of the drugs which are responsible for the eradication or the suppression and control of the elevated lipid levels. Why the lipids, some of the lipids like the LDL cholesterols, if not controlled adequately over a span of time, could be atherogenic and could be very devastating to the health. Those all things have been narrated over here. Today my topic, just to share, is about the triglycerides. Triglycerides basically, as you know, are the basic source of maybe the energy, basically the energy source in which a human being, the human body stores energy. Now this triglycerides comes from the different sources, maybe the exogenous source or the endogenous source. The exogenous source could be the fats uh, from the food which we normally ingest via our meals. It could be through the VLDL, that is the very low density lipoproteins, which is basically synthesized from our liver. Now, these triglycerides are such a wonderful kind of molecule that it is responsible for the, it is basically a package of lipid, and which is responsible for the storage of energy in the human body, basically in our adipose tissues. Now, adipose tissues are found in the central region of our abdominal fat. Our abdomen contains the centrally located big droplets of adipose tissues called as the adipocytes, which is not no less than a big bowl of, or a big central droplet of cytoplasm, a rim of cytoplasm which is covered by a droplet of triglycerides. Now this triglycerides is actually responsible for secretion of fatty acids, the free fatty acids, after hydrolysis. But why exactly is the hydrolysis is required? Now just imagine that a person, a normal human being who is having a weight of around 65 to 70 kg on an average, a lean type physique of a person, his body contains adipose tissues in the central abdominal region, subcutaneous abdominal region, near the thighs, buttocks region, and to some extent in the back. Now, this triglycerides, which is stored in the form of adipose tissues, that after a period of time, if the workout, our physical activities like the daily workouts, the movements, uh, which we normally do during our carrying out of our physical activities, if that is not been used, that is, if remains unused, then these triglycerides, which are stored in the form of in the adipose tissues, could be very devastating, because these adipocytes are the central region which is the major determinant of the harmful effects or the harmful factors like the uh, markers, the leptin, cytokines, adipsin, complement factor C, so acylation stimulating protein, this kind of things. So basically what happens is that during a post workout, after we carry out a huge workout of maybe 30 to 40 minutes, then a lot of energy is required. This energy has to be given or liquidated from a, a region wherein there should be a storage. So these triglycerides are basically stored in these adipose tissues, and during after at the time of workout and after workout, that is a post workout period, these triglycerides are hydrolyzed to free fatty acids and monoglycerides. Now these free fatty acids are hydrolyzed by the help of an enzyme which is hormone sensitive lipase, that is hepatic lipase. Apart from the hepatic lipase, there is also a hormone sensitive enzyme which is governed by the hormone called as catecholamines during the stage of fasting. If you are having a fasting period, then this catecholamines further aggravates or stimulates the hormone sensitive lipase to convert these free fatty acids back to the glucose, and that basically becomes our source of energy at the time of workout. A normal human being has around the triglyceride which is stored in the adipose tissues or adipocytes has the total potential of around 5,70,000 kilojoules after oxidation. Means a person can remain in a total period of complete starvation for a period of 3 months. Then the entire storage of triglycerides will get liquidated. Now the same person is also having the glycogen, which is stored as a secondary source of fuel in our body, that is inside the liver. The excess of the glucose which we normally have, that turns into the glycogen, that is a very compact form of glucose. Now at the time of progressive compensatory hyperinsulinemia, at the fasting period, like the over the after we consume our meal, after we ingest our meal during our dinner. So after dinner, post dinner time till morning, so that period after normally a meal takes around 2 hours to get completely metabolized and digested, and it reaches each and every cell throughout the body to give the energy after oxidation of the glucose. Now the excess glucose which is keeps circulating inside the in the blood stream, that goes to the liver, and it is stored basically in the form of glycogen. So this glycogen at the time of fasting time, that gives us the energy. It is broken down back to the glucose by the process called as glycogenolysis. So a person will use the secondary source of energy, that is glycogen, and it almost gives around 4,200 kilojoules of energy. So we have two sources of energy. First, the primary source is glucose, which after oxidation gives the energy in the form of ATP, which is stored in the mitochondria, which normally is also called as the powerhouse of the cell, which is present in each and every cell throughout our body. Secondary becomes the glycogen, which gets converted into glucose to give us the energy. And tertiary source of energy is maybe the free fatty acids or the triglycerides which are stored in the adipose tissues, or maybe the skeletal muscles, which is forms the tertiary source of energy. And there is yet another source of energy, which is the last source of energy, that is the proteins. Now these proteins also gets converted back to the glucose at the time of need, after the entire adipose tissues, the triglyceride which is stored in them, they gets converted into the fatty acids to give us the energy. So these proteins also gets broken down back to the amino acids and to give us the energy. So that almost a person will live for a total starvation of around 30 days.